Well, good morning, folks. Lately, we've been having some hot weather in London, here in London. But London hasn't only been the place where it's been hot on the internet, especially here on YouTube with the debacle with the Netflix Cleopatra documentary. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. On the back of that, I've been getting a lot of videos come up on my feed, on my YouTube feed, regarding Ancient Egypt, a hot debate on race. So, as a bystander, I thought I'll give my penny's worth. Now, before I start, there's some things I need to make clear. I'm not making no claims. Let me just turn to this side because my arm is getting tired. You see, I'm not making no claims to any culture that's not mine. Later on, you'll see that the Africans who lives in that part of the world looks very different to me, which is I'm even though I was born in the UK of Afro-Caribbean descent, but you'll be able to see that the Africans in question from the east and northeast region of Africa looks very different to me. So this is why I don't use the word black, because when you say black, 98% of people think of one type of black person. They think of the black person they've seen in Hollywood, or the politicians and musicians and stuff like that, a West African, basically. So I use the word African when I'm talking about ancient Egypt, okay? Because a lot of people forget, just like Europe and just like Asia, you've got lots of different types, a diversity of phenotypes in each continent, especially Africa. Especially Africa is the most diverse place on the planet. You know, so, and you'll see this for yourself as we go on into the video. Anyway, so I've made that claim clear. I'm looking at the whole thing as though, excuse the parakeet. Sadly, in London we got a lot of parakeets. Pain in the ass. They're noisy buggers. Let me change my arm again. Oh, a little squirrel just walking across there. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, let's come back to subject at hand. So I'm looking at it like as though I'm in a court case, and the viewers are the jury, and basically I'm presenting the evidence in the court case. I'm the messenger, so don't shoot the messenger. And together we'll look at the evidence that's being laid out before us. Now, during this video, I make a promise. I'm not going to insult your intelligence like I've seen a lot of people attempt to do with the general public. We're not going to bullshit each other. We're going to be, straight with each other. So, that's what's going to happen. So that's the way I'm going to play this. Okay, so we're going to be going through the evidence that's being laid out, and we're going to examine it piece by piece. Okay, so that's how I'm going to conduct it. So it's as I said, it's going to be like a courtroom. I'm a bystander. I'm a member of the jury, and I'm not making no claim. At the end, I'm going to leave it for the jury to talk amongst themselves to come up with a verdict. Okay, so that's how we're going to play it. Okay, so thank you very much. You'll see me in the next section where I talk when we bring the first. Sorry, let me change my arm again. When we bring the first evidence to the witness stand. Okay, so that's how we're going to have a little bit of fun. A bit of warning. I will be using a bit of derogatory words in terms of racist names, but I'll be coding them. So the N word will be Igga, the P word will be wacky. I shall explain the wacky meaning if you're not from the UK and if you don't know what the word wacky means. So a bit of warning, but there'll be a slight bit of sarcasm on my end. Okay, so thank you very much, folks, and you'll see me in the next section. Okay, bye. Okay, we shall call the first witness. That is ancient Greek text. Now, according to ancient Greek text, this is something that anybody could look at themselves, so it's there for all to see. The eyewitness account goes as thus. According to Aristotle and Herodotus, described the ancient Egyptians as having dark-skinned and woolly or coiled hair, and in some cases they had straight hair. So let's look at it in more detail. In both cases, both of them being dark-skinned, either with straight hair or coiled or woolly hair. Now, if you were a police officer and you turned up at a scene of a crime, namely like a bank robbery or something like that, and you said to the staff, what did the assailants look like? And the staff said, well, they described the assailant as having dark skin with woolly or coiled hair, and some of the other bank robbers were also dark skinned, but they had straight hair. Now, let's be honest with each other. Who would you be looking for? Would you be looking for someone who looks like this? Or would you be looking for somebody who looks more like this? Time for a recap, because some of you, your memories are like goldfish. I already stated earlier on, Africa has many phenotypes. It is a diversity of African types. I'm just one type, and this is why I don't use the word black, because when I say black or black African, most people think of a West African, and we're not talking about West Africans here. We're talking about the ancient Egyptians who lived, the ancient Egyptians or ancient Africans who lived in that part of the world, i.e. East African, Northeast African, the Kushites, the Nubians, which is not me. So I'm making it clear, me and them, we're not the same, right? So don't be trying to make out like I'm trying to claim something that's not mine. I never made a claim at all. I told you I'm a bystander, so I need to get that through some of your thick skulls because you don't listen. So I just need to repeat it, okay? So let's move on to the next. Witness. Now we call the next witness to the stand. Facial features. Oi, tell, you heard what happened to Steve's place? Yeah, he got burgled last night. Yeah, that's right. It was one of them nignogs, isn't it? Yeah, well, because his missus, she was hiding behind the sofa and she saw the silhouette, and she said the geezer had thick lips, wide nose, high cheekbones, and curly hair. Yeah, that's right. What? Hey? What? The ancient Egyptian pharaohs had the same facial features? Eh? Well, that doesn't mean they're nignogs. Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I know they were described as dark skin, and they got like, you know, on the statues, you got thick lips and a wide nose, and yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're nignogs. Nah. Them Iggers, they're inferior race, ain't they? I mean, they're too dumb to build an empire. Come on. Let's face it. Igga, an ancient Egyptian Igga. No way a nignog could do that. Yeah, well, coming back to Steve's place, yeah, it's definitely them nignogs that turned his place over. Definitely. You know what nignogs are like, thieving bastards, ain't they?
Yeah. All right, sweet. I'll speak to you later. Okay, bye. Right, now we come to my metaphorical modern Egyptian. I call him Hassim. Now, Hassim, I notice whenever you upload videos on Ancient Egyptians' facial features, I notice you only ever feature this type of example, while you never ever show this example. Now, I think this is very dishonest and very underhanded of you, Hassim. If you're going to tell a story, you need to tell the whole story, not just tell part of the story and present it as the whole story. Right? And now, while I'm here, let's be straight with each other, right? No bullshit. You know, and I know, that there's an anti African sentiment amongst you modern Egyptians. Now, you may not necessarily have that mindset consciously, but probably subconsciously you have it, hence why you never show the other side of the story. Okay, so I don't care how many times you want to call me brother, but let's not pretend that that anti-African sentiment isn't there. I mean, I was told, but what was it? The best way to insult a modern Egyptian is to call them an African or a Sudanese. Is that correct? I grew up in the 1970s in West London. And let me tell you about West London in the 1970s. Now, if you were black, Asian, or an Arab, right? These were the names you would have been called by the racist white kids. Let's start off with black. Irrespective of whether you're East African, South African, West African, originating from the Caribbean, doesn't matter. You'd either be a Nignog, Gollywog, Iga, and when it comes to your facial features, they'll call you rubber lips. If you came from South Asia, be you from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, the racist word rhymes with wacky, but it's short for Pakistan. But take away the stan from Pakistan, then that's the swear word. That's the racist words towards anyone from that side of the world. Wacky, but you put the P, or take away the stan from Pakistan, there you go. If you look like an Arab or North African or modern Egyptian, you'll be called a greasy dayglow. Now, there's a reason why I'm telling you all this, and you'll see why momentarily. Had Tutankhamun arrived at my high school in the 1970s with that face of his, now it would have been a lose-lose situation for him, because trust me when I tell you this, the white kids, the ones that were racists, they would have definitely called him a wacky or an Iga. Now, had I switched on the 10 o'clock news and there was a report of a terrorist attack at the Houses of Parliament, and they said that they were looking for this guy, then let's say 2 days later, they arrested this guy. My initial reaction would be, they got the wrong guy. I don't know in which mind or which planet that that guy, the second face, looks like the first face. Which leaves me with a conclusion. Either the statue is not what he looked like, or after the bone construction,
reconstruction, shall I say, the reconstruction is not what he looked like. One of them is wrong. So either the ancient Egyptians wasn't skillful enough to get a exact likeness of the guy, but someone is wrong. And I mean, I leave it up to you to figure out which one's wrong. But there's an irony, because remember I told you about the terminology what the white kid used to say, rubber lips. Well, look at this irony here. There's more of a link between my ugly face and the statue, and I'll show you a snippet of the mouth and nose of mine and the statue of Tutankhamun, and yet we're not even the same African type. We call the next witness to the bench DNA Part 1.
Ramesses III. Not only have I read that Ramesses III shares the same DNA as Africans from Central Africa, but there's a man by the name of Dexter from Atlanta, Georgia in the US of A, an African American, that found out that he's a direct descendant of Ramesses III. And not only that, he actually looks like the statues. You could see the interview. I haven't got the link, but I did screenshot the actual video title, so you could, if you inclined to search for it, you can see it for yourself. We call the next witness to the stand a 5,000 odd year old mummy of a black boy found in Libya 1958, which predates the Ancient Egyptian Empire. Now we call the next witness to the bench, DNA Part 3. Now we had to really search for this witness because the findings on this one has kept really quiet, and surprisingly it was done before the next witness that's about to come, which most people know about that witness. But apparently, which you shall see in the articles to follow, findings was done in a place called Adama, and it found links with African links. I'm not using the word black because, again, most people think black means West African. So I'll just say African origins. So the DNA findings of the population of Ardema, which is near Thebes, I don't know exactly what time period. You'd have to check out the article, but it is before the famous DNA findings, and it was also carried out in 2010. So so the DNA findings of Adama, spelled Adama. Well, you should see the articles for yourself. So that's witness DNA number 3. I would recommend you watch the video attached to DNA number 3 because the information is a lot more than what I can give in a time that I want to use in this video here. So if you got the time, please watch the video. You get much more information than I'm giving you now.
Okay, now we call the final witness, DNA Part 4. Probably the most famous witness due to the 2017 DNA finding that concluded that ancient Egyptians had origins in Near East rather than Africa. However, many of you would know that findings has since been debunked, but for reasons of fairness and balance, I had to include this witness to the stand, because otherwise I'd be a hypocrite. There's me accusing Hassim of just telling part of the story when I would be doing the same thing. So I had to include DNA findings, part 4, to the witness stand. Okay, so for the benefit of those who don't know why it was debunked, it was a reason of location and time period. Location, it was conducted in a site that was well known for a lot of foreign influx. There's plenty of videos on this, they'll explain it better than me. And plus, out of a 3,000 year period for the empire, it only went back to 1,300 years. So they didn't do any findings prior to that, and they concentrated, like I said, in a place that was well known for a lot of foreign influx. Okay, it's time for the summary. Like I said, I approached this like as though it's a court case and we are the jury and it's time to go away and deliberate amongst ourselves, leave the comment. Now, I'm not going to tell you what verdict you should arrive to. That's something you got to do for yourself. All I've done is just presented the evidence to the best of my ability, and that's all I can do. Now, but I will say, for the people who only accept the findings of the DNA findings of 2017, I have a question. The question would be, okay, knowing what you know now, assuming that you didn't know that before in terms of the evidence that was laid out beforehand, why are you disregarding all the evidence beforehand and prioritizing this particular evidence in terms of the DNA findings of 2017, considering everything that's said up until this point, and plus with the number of videos available that's debunking the point better than what I could? So that's that question. So my opinion on that, again, I'm not telling you what verdict you should arrive to, is if a detective in a murder case had the same approach, that detective would be either corrupt or incompetent, because all the evidence has to fit. It all has to fit to arrive at a conclusion. So if the detective throws out evidence that he finds inconvenient for whatever reason, just to secure a conviction, then you would agree that that detective is corrupt or incompetent. All the evidence has to fit together. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I mean, I've got my own conclusion, but this is not about me. Okay, so I will leave it at that. And thanks for taking the time to watch my video. And well, I look forward to reading the comments. Thank you very much.